Splatoon 3 kits are a staple part of the franchise. Every weapon is paired with a sub-weapon and a special weapon, which can change the playstyle and viability of a weapon. Most weapons have had third kits until Splatoon 3, where for some reason they haven't been added, but all of this is now changing with the huge new news that we've been getting this week. Also, make sure to subscribe because I have some huge new projects coming up and you're not going to want to miss it. Also join the Discord server, there's a lot of fun people there. Now, let's get on with the video. In order to understand the full scope, let's travel back to Splatoon 1. Splatoon 1 didn't have all of its weapon classes at launch. As a matter of fact, the entirety of the Brush, Splatling, and Slosher classes were missing on day 1. They were added about 3 months later after Splatoon released in a post-launch update, but Splatoon 1 did sure deliver on consistent and continuous updates. In the year it was given post-launch updates, that is, only 1 year instead of the 2 we're getting now. That made it so they were able to deliver third kits via Sheldon's Picks on April 13th, 2016. This was a batch of weapons Sheldon canonically liked, so he gave them all third kits. They had very different designs and colors from the original weapons, and overall had the strongest kits out of the options. Some examples of weapons from this update were the Fresh Squiffer, Berry Splattershot Pro, and the Wasabi Splattershot. Splatoon 1 delivered so heavily on kits that they even got to do a second round of Sheldon's Picks 2 months later on June 6, 2016. Most of the things they said about previous Sheldon's Picks apply to these, except that there were 9 of them instead of 8. Weapons from this include Aerospray PG, Grim Range Blaster, and Heavy Splatling Remix. If you played Splatoon 2, you might notice that some similarities between those weapons. Speaking of Splatoon 2, Splatoon 2 also didn't have all of its weapons on launch. They were a little bit better with that, having all of the classes in the game a month after the game's release, but updates were a bit slower with Splatoon 2. It did make up with that, with being 2 years long instead of the 1 in Splatoon 1. Splatoon 2 only had a batch of Sheldon's Picks, but in addition to that, they had Kenza weapons. In Splatoon 2, the final major update introduced Kenza weapons, which were third kits to weapons which were black and white. And so many weapons got a Kenza variant, 17 in total. These all released gradually throughout the fall of 2018, and people were very happy with them. Weapons like the Kenza Splattershot, Kenza Roller, and Kenza Charger were all included, which people thought was enough because that's the same amount of third kits in Splatoon 1 got, but in April 2019, we got even more third kits with Sheldon's Picks again. There were 12 weapons in total, and even though roughly half of them were the exact same kinds of weapons from Splatoon 1, it was still amazing that they did it. Also, fun fact, when this update first released, only the Aerospray PG was in the shops, so people thought that they were only going to be getting one weapon. Fun times. But people who knew we were getting more than one weapon were pretty confused. Weapons like the Cherry Nozzle Nose, Clear Dapple Dualies, and Heavy Splatling Remix were adored by fans, and probably the fan favorite kit of those weapons. In Splatoon 2, we got 29 third kits, which sadly weren't all the weapons in the game, but it was so much amazing stuff and how they improved from Splatoon 1. But now, let's talk about the final game in the series. Splatoon 3 started changing things up. They had all the base weapons on launch, and instead of doing random small updates, they updated their game in seasons, meaning one big update every 3 months. It's debatable whether Splatoon 3's updates were truly over, considering there's still Splatfest, but I'm going to cover what we have so far and what we think may happen in the future. As we know, Splatoon 3 had everything on launch, which was already a huge step up from the first 2 games, not even having every class at launch. In terms of new weapons, they added a few every couple seasons, going in order of the classes. That means shooters, rollers, and chargers first, and then stringers and splatonas last. Every season got 8 to 14 new weapon kits, but for most players, that wasn't enough. By the final season, exactly every weapon had a second kit, but no weapons had third kits. Yes, I'm not joking, the game called Splatoon 3 is the only game yet to have third kits 2 years in its lifespan. But, believe it or not, there's still hope. As we know, the Grand Festival just happened last week, and reruns of Big Runs and Splatfest are still happening. It would also be weird if Splatoon 3 was the only game not to have third kits. All of this was speculation, until recently, this happened. It all started with the patch notes. They made it easier to get Sheldon licenses, aka making it easier to get 1 star in a weapon. Considering a lot of players have all the weapons, and all the weapons are in the game, apparently, the only real reason they absolutely needed to do this patch is if they were about to release new weapons. This is what Prochara said in his video.
They specify this is to make it easier to get Sheldon licenses. Why are they making it easier to get Sheldon licenses when they aren't adding any other weapons? I mean, this could just be to get them faster. But if you're on Copium for the third kits, hey, here you go!
It would be really weird if they did such a random patch without having new weapons, but there's still a chance it was a coincidence. However, with what I'm about to tell you, it is definitely not a coincidence. Diam Creeper is a leaker slash modder and posted a ton of different mods, but for some reason only one got DMCA'd by Nintendo. This mod was a mod about Sheldon's picks, which we just talked about was the main reason third kits were in both the other 2 games. The only real reason Nintendo would take down that mod out of all the other mods he posted is if they were planning to add that content of the mod into Splatoon 3. This even has precedent, because someone made a mod of Ingopolis Square and Ingopolis Plaza in Splatoon 3, and it was also taken down. Then, about 2 months later, they added that into the game. I really see no other reason why they would do this, especially since I doubt many people are modding their Switches in the first place, and I would say this is all the proof we need, but there's more. This one I found out myself. It's that they're still missing weapon slots in the weapon equip area. They only added stages until all the slots fill up the grid perfectly, so I think the same will happen to weapons, because one missing just looks ugly, and they only added so much stages so they wouldn't have any missing. I was also told that the NSO icons for a lot of weapons and third kits are supposed to solve that somehow. The general theory is that they might be announced in December after we get a new tournament that was just announced. I hope that happens because that would be epic. A whole tournament ending and then Sheldon's picks. I think major content ending doesn't mean they can't do a small update. After all, in both other games, Sheldon's picks have been random and unprovoked and way after normal updates ended. But we never know. That's all for this video. What's your opinion on third kits, and which game do you think handled them the best? Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe because I have big plans coming up, and a custom Splatoon 1 Splatfest, a tournament, and 20 brand new videos. Also, please like the video. This was Fakesome Fire, and stay fresh!